Hi, nice to meet you. My name is Vita, and I am currently studying English literature in Sultan Agung Islamic University. First of all, thank you so much for joining this interview. I'm really
That's okay.
appreciate I'm really appreciate your time. I'm doing this as part of my project to learn more about British society, culture, and education. And I like to hear your thoughts and experiences. So I
Yeah.
like to start with some question about daily life and society in the UK, if it's just alright.
Yeah, yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Here's the first question. So, what's a typical day like for you?
Typical day. Okay. So I'd say a typical day, usually in the weekdays. Like today, I usually have work. So if I'm going to the office, I usually have to wake up very, very early in the morning. So maybe about 6 o'clock in the morning. But
Um,
I usually work from home. So I can get up a bit later in the morning, maybe about 8 o'clock. Um, I'd say I usually finish work about 5:30. And then if I'm not feeling too lazy, I try and do some exercise. I might play a game, read a book, things like that. I guess my schedule on weekends a little bit different because I've got much more time. So I usually get up later. I might have a lazy day sitting around doing not very much, or I might go and see some of my friends nearby because it's hard for me to see them more in the week.
wow, it seems like you like disciplined people. That's so good.
Yeah, well, yeah, I try to be. Yeah.
Okay, so what's the general attitude towards work-life balance in the UK?
Well, work-life balance. I would say so. Work is a very big part of people's lives here, because obviously we spend so long here. So I mean, for example, I do about 7.5 hours of work per day, 5 days a week. But I don't think people necessarily prioritize it over, say, their home lives, so maybe their family or their friends, by say maybe working very very late. That doesn't really happen so much over here. I'd say as well, there's been quite a shift in recent years as well, where people are making a real effort to try and balance their work lives and their home lives more and more. So maybe looking for jobs where they can work from home, looking for jobs that might allow them to work more flexibly for things like childcare arrangements as well.
Also, it's like a freelance or remote job.
I mean, it can be either. I mean, I think there's more freelancing, but there's more. I think jobs are more accepting of people sort of like leaving in the middle of the day for like appointments and childcare, things like that. Even in full-time jobs.
Oh, that's really interesting. I think I wanna do a job like that someday.
Yeah,
When I
it's good.
graduate.
I've done both, and it's much better this way, I think.
So the next question is, are there noticeable differences between younger and older generation in terms of lifestyle?
Uh, I would say definitely, yeah. I think generally speaking, older people usually have quite a lot more money than the younger generations. So you can see that through things like older people a lot of the time have their own houses over here,
Mm.
whereas it's not as common in young people. As well, because they have more money a lot of the time, they can afford to go on, say, maybe more holidays, things like that. Um, I guess as well, I would say younger people are a lot more comfortable with technology. So you might have the internet for social media, you might have video games or computers. And I guess this is just, I guess, quite a natural thing because lots of young people have grown up using the technology, whereas old people maybe they didn't grow up with it and they're only now learning about it.
Yeah, it's quite similar like in here. The
Yeah, yeah, I think it would be, yeah, because you'd still have the thing of younger people would have more of the technology and are more used to it, and then older people are just coming to it a little bit later on, maybe.
Yeah, it's like here also. So, how do British people usually interact with neighbor or community?
That's a good question. Um, I would say that there is. It's first of all, it's always very, very polite. It's pretty much always. So you might talk about things like, the weather. You might talk about how people's families are. You might talk about how like work is going, for example. It's very, very rare that you'd have sort of you have like a rude or confrontational conversation with your neighbor. Like that doesn't really happen at all here. I guess I would say that on the whole, I think there is more of a community spirit, and that you might talk to your neighbors more in more rural areas compared to, towns or cities where there are more people.
Hmm.
Um, that could be for lots of different reasons. It might just be that people who want that sort of community feel want to go and live somewhere where they think it's more likely, or it might be because of practical reasons. So, in villages, for example, the transport links to, say, London are really, really bad. So,
Mm.
it's important to have people around you in the villages who can maybe who might have cars and who are able to transport you, help transport you to places.
So I see what you mean.
Yeah,
So, next to the topic is the culture. It's okay?
yeah, culture. Yeah, that's absolutely great. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So, what aspect of British culture are you most proud of? I mean, like you usually do, like often.
Oh, so which one things am I most proud of about being
Yeah.
British and culture? Yeah. Okay. Let me think. Um, well, I'd say I sort of mentioned it slightly before, but I think that British people, in the main, they're people who are very polite. So we try and go out of their way to make people feel sort of included, and we try and be considerate of other people's feelings. When we're talking to them, and I think that's something that I'm really proud of about being British. I guess I would also say, I mean, because this might relate more to me than generally, because I work as in science, but I'm proud of the fact that um, Britain has a very good history in science and sort of making scientific breakthroughs. So if you're looking at things like discovering the structure of DNA, or finding out about different antibiotics, those discoveries were made sometimes by British people.
Oh, I like about uh British accent. It really sounds cool.
I don't think so. Maybe I'm too used to it.
So,
I think your one sounds much cooler. I think.
so I also agree with you that British also is polite. This
Yeah,
I
that's
could
I think
also
that's
touch from your sentence and how you replying me.
thank you, thank you. I try my best.
Okay, thank you. So, what are some of your favorite British artists, writer, or musician?
Ooh, I would say, in terms of writers, I would say, well, as a child, I really liked reading an author called Roald Dahl, and so I read a lot of his books as a child, and he was British. So I'd say he's one of the ones that would stand out for me. I guess as I got older, I read more and more, British books by British authors. So things like some things by Shakespeare. So it might be Romeo and Juliet. It could be Macbeth. I read a few bits by George Orwell as well, who you might have heard of. And I think those authors were really, really good. So they would stand out to me. In terms of musicians, the biggest one is probably the Beatles. I mean, I don't listen to a lot of their music myself, but pretty much everyone in the UK knows the Beatles. They're massive. People here know all the songs, and I won't sing any of the songs here and embarrass myself, but they're very very popular over in the UK, and they have a really big influence over a lot of the culture here.
So can you recommend me like one book? I think I'm interested to read one of your that you have to explain.
Oh, was it sorry? The book, sorry.
Yeah, recommend me one book that for you that most of one your favorite.
Oh goodness me. I guess as a kid, I really liked reading. There was a book called The Twits by Roald Dahl, which it might be it's generally aimed at sort of like children who are about 10 or 11 years old, but a lot of it is still quite funny now. And if you're looking for something that's maybe a bit more geared towards sort of grown-ups, I don't really think you can go wrong with lots of the Shakespeare things. I mean, for example, I think Macbeth is a really good one.
Oh, so you like English literature classic?
Yeah, I read quite a lot, although I didn't study that at like university or anything like that.
So I think if you prefer reading than watching a movie or film.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, probably a lot of the time I usually prefer to read. A lot of the time, if I'm watching a film, I get distracted, whereas if I'm reading, I don't get distracted so much.
I agree. It's same like me.
Yeah,
Usually if I'm watching a film, like suddenly I fell asleep and the film
yeah, me
watching.
too. And you don't know what's happened in the film because you haven't seen the past half an hour. Yeah,
So if we reading, it's like we follow what's inside, follow the plot. So we don't care about the others when reading have.
exactly. Yeah, you get immersed in the plot, right? Yeah,
Oh, what I consider yourself.
exactly.
So number three is how important is literature like Shakespeare in the UK today?
Oh, I think it's still quite important. So when you're at secondary school, you still usually have to study at least say like something from historic literature, so usually Shakespeare, and so that's something you have to do. And so then you can I guess you become introduced to Shakespeare from a really young age. Um, and obviously, it gives people a chance to think about the themes in his work. So things like power, love, jealousy, ambition, things like this. But I guess beyond children, I mean, basically, if you go to pretty much every quite large town in the UK, there'd always be sort of some performance of Shakespeare coming up sometime soon. So really, yes, you learn about him at school, but there are still avenues to see his plays being performed, even once once you become an adult as well.
Actually, in here, Shakespeare also like very famous. So I in last meeting in the pros, we need to analysis a classic novel. So most of us choose Shakespeare's.
Oh, really?
Really,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I think that was a good choice.
Yeah, this is good. Writers. So, next question. Are
Yeah.
traditional British custom and festivals still widely celebrated?
Um, yeah, I think so. So a lot of the biggest British festivals, essentially Christian festivals, also they're linked to events in Christianity. So you might have, for example, Christmas, Easter, Shrove Tuesday. They're some of the bigger ones that are celebrated in the UK, even if a lot of the time, even if people aren't actually still Christians, they're still celebrated. I would also say, probably outside of that, one of the more interesting ones is something called Bonfire Night on the 5th of November. And um, basically, this is from a time there was a man called Guy Fawkes in, I think it was about 500 years ago. And he tried to blow up the king, but his plan was stopped. I think it was the day before the 5th of November. And basically, the next day, people came out and lit bonfires to celebrate the king's survival. And so that's sort of carried over to today. So there are, fireworks displays on the 5th of November, and people like bonfires. So it does seem a little bit strange, but it's a really interesting festival, I think, in the UK.
I hope someday I can see directly the
Yeah,
festival. It
it's it,
must,
yeah, it's
it
good
must
fun, I
be,
think. Yeah,
it must be really beautiful in there.
it is. It is. Well, it is. The fireworks are beautiful. Yeah, they're very beautiful. But sometimes people go to the events and it's not so beautiful because they throw litter on the floor and things like this. But the fireworks are very, very beautiful. Yeah.
I like it. So the next question is, how does British culture influence other countries?
Okay. I guess part of that is from historical reasons. So obviously, there's a big impact from Britain's place as a sort of a colonial power in terms of the fact that English is really widely spoken across the world um, in so many different places. And in, I guess, like most British people I know, they're not really interested in learning other languages because they know that it's presumed that other people will help them when they go to other countries and that they will know English and be able to talk to them that way. Um, I'd say there are some other cultural influences as well. So I guess a big one is in things like we say it's football in the UK, but I think it's soccer elsewhere. So you have the Premier League, and there are obviously lots of some of the most well-known teams have fans all across the world. And I guess lastly, TV as well is I think is a big one. So shows that are exported out of the UK, like it could be Doctor Who or Downton Abbey, for example.
Ah, so I agree with you. The
Yeah, yeah.
other ones. So our last topic is education. So let me,
Education. All right.
yeah, education. So the first one is, how does the education system in the UK work from primary to university?
Okay. So when you get to about 5 years old, you start in primary school, and that lasts until you reach about age 11. And while you're at primary school, you study loads and loads of different subjects, but you're mainly looking at maths, English, and science. They're the ones that are the main ones. When you go to secondary school, which we call high school, once you finish primary school, so at age 11, you still study a wide range of subjects, and that really only narrows down once you reach about age 14 or so. Once you get to be 16 years old, a lot of people choose to leave school, and they might start doing work in sort of a trade work. So it could be they might go onto a building site and learn how to be a builder, for example. But a lot of people also choose to follow an academic route and attend school for a couple more years so that they can go to university because you need the exam grades from school in order to be able to attend university a bit later on.
Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you.
That's okay.
So the next question is, what are the most popular subject among students in your opinion?
Oh goodness. I think I think that depends a lot on obviously the people that you're talking to, but I think in the main, I think that physical education, so PE, is quite popular because lots of people enjoy playing sports as a hobby, and so I guess that PE is sort of like a extended version of their hobby that they're doing in school. I think that art is another big favorite as well, because it gives students the chance to be creative and to express themselves as well. And I guess also I think that IT, so working with computers, was quite popular as well when I was at school. Um, I think obviously because you might not have some of the technology at home, and so that coming in and having a chance to use some new technology is quite interesting.
Yeah, it sounds like here. Maybe if in here its most hated subject is math.
Maths. Oh, really?
It's really.
Yeah. I think in the UK, people don't generally like maths too much. It's too much thinking. It's a lot of effort for people to do, I think.
Yeah, I'm so agree with you. Okay, thank you. So, do you think UK school focus more on academic or on creativity and critical thinking?
Ooh, I would say that I think UK schools are more focused on academics than
Ah.
creativity and critical thinking. I think teachers would like to spend more time helping students be creative. But I don't think that they really have enough time to do that because how schools are judged in the UK really depends on how well people do um, in exams. And so if schools do very badly, then parents don't want to send their children to that school anymore, which means the school gets less money. Children, obviously, if they're getting bad exam scores, they're not going to be able to do the careers that they want to do. And also, if schools do badly in their exam scores, then there's a lot of pressure from outside groups who would come and look at the school and inspect the school. So there's that's very stressful for teachers, and so I think there's really it really encourages teachers to spend lots of time focusing on exams more than creative projects. I think.
Oh, maybe it's quite similar also like in here.
I think so. I imagine so because it's everyone is so focused on trying to do well academically that I think it's easy to forget the other side of it.
That's good. Well, so go to the next question. Are students given a lot of homework or exam in school? I mean, in the UK. Yeah.
Um, I don't think really that much. Probably less so than in most other countries. I think in at primary school you might get maybe a few bits of homework to do per week, but it wouldn't really take much more than maybe about 2 hours every single week. You do get more homework to do once you go to secondary school, but it doesn't really go much beyond about an hour or so per day. Um, and I guess in terms of exams, I think in the last year of primary school, I think you have to do some exams in maths, in English, and in science. And like I say, they're sort of used to rate how good the school is. But I don't think you really do any formal exams after then until you reach 16. And then a bit later on, you do your exams that really decide if you can go to university and which university you can go to.
Also, it's quite different here. So every in Indonesia we have mid exam and final exam. Like
Every single year.
every single
Oh,
year,
wow.
every
I,
single semester.
every semester.
Yeah.
Oh, people wouldn't like that over here.
From
They would be
elementary,
very upset.
yeah.
Yeah,
From elementary until university is always like that.
it's
One
always
semester,
like,
yeah, one
ah,
semester we have twice exam, mid and final exam.
it sounds very tiring. I think you got so much to remember, you know.
Yeah, actually yes, but we have to be habit. So the last question is, how well do you think the education system prepares students for real life?
Ooh, that is a good question. Um, I think I think in the main it prepares people for real life quite well. Um, I mean, many of the basic skills that you learn at school, so writing, reading, maths, are needed in pretty much every job in the UK. And then some of the specialist training you receive at universities is needed for highly skilled jobs. So things like being a doctor or a lawyer, you have to go to university for those things. But I do think that the system is set up to really probably over prioritize academics, and I don't think as well that it covers how to handle lots of real world issues. So things like how to handle a budget, so looking after money. I think it would obviously be ideal if they could include this sort of thing in schools, but I don't think it's very likely because school timetables are already very, very full, and so there isn't much time to fit that sort of thing in.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
That's no worries at all. Thank you so much for your time as well. It's been fun.
It's really good to have chatting with you.
Yeah, you too. Good. Hopefully the project goes well for you.
Okay. I'm so appreciate you want to interview with me.
No, it's you're fine. Honestly, it's like I say, it's good for me and fun for me as well. So yeah, thank you.
Okay. That's all the question I have for today. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing your experiences with me. It really means a lot to me.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear.
I've learned a lot from this conversation and it was such a pleasure to talking to you.
That's great. I've learned a lot too. So thank you for sharing your experiences as well.
Okay. I hope you have a wonderful day.
You too. You too.